Like the title says, your mind doesn't create reality, it only explains it. If you get lost in the mind, if you get lost in your thoughts, emotions, or actions, you're getting lost in the 3D world because thoughts and emotions are temporary and consciousness is eternal. And what you truly are is consciousness. So, what this means is you don't need to monitor every thought or emotion or try to control them or make them appear a certain way. Because to do that, to fight your thoughts, emotions, and actions or try to make them behave a certain way, is to fight against the 3D world. And even if you're new to manifestation, you've probably heard that it starts within. And trying to rearrange anything outside of the consciousness that you are is like fighting a mirror or trying to smash a mirror to change the reflection rather than changing what's being reflected. And what's being reflected is your state of consciousness. And it gets reflected in your mind in the form of thoughts, in the form of emotions, and ultimately in the form of the actions you take and how you feel in your body. But it doesn't start there, even though it feels as if they're very close to what generates your experience. But it is none of those things. All of those things are reflections of the consciousness that you are. And something that happens when you identify your mind as the cause of the phenomena in your reality is you will start to try and figure everything out. You'll try to figure out the how behind how your manifestation is going to come about. And you're also going to try and figure out, or you may try and figure out, how all of manifestation works, how reality operates. And while that can be interesting and it's something I still dive into, I understand that I am still capable of creating my desired reality despite not knowing everything. You do not need to figure everything out before you can move forward. And, from what I've noticed in my own experience, is sometimes figuring it out comes from moving forward. You figure it out almost in hindsight, and it is the consciousness that is going to position you to that deeper level of understanding. It starts with your consciousness. It starts with you. And a really simple example to explain this, if you see yourself or imagine yourself as poor, that state of consciousness is going to be reflected in your thoughts and actions and emotions. You're going to, miss out on opportunities. You're going to think all the good opportunities are taken. You're going to feel like crap. And you're going to eat endless junk food or just unhealthy habits in general, reinforcing that state of consciousness. But it isn't the actions or the thoughts or the emotions. It starts with the power that you are. It starts with consciousness. And on the other hand, if you're constantly diving in, trying to find endless success stories to prove to yourself how it works or that it does work, you're not stepping into the desired state of consciousness. You're paralyzed, waiting for proof, rather than imagining yourself into your desired state, moving forward, and letting the how solve itself on its own. There's a great quote by Steve Jobs where he said, "You cannot connect the dots looking forward, you can only connect the dots looking backwards." So when you move forward, when you imagine yourself to be the person you want to be, have faith in that and move forward, the how is going to work itself out. But unless you have faith and know where your power comes from, you will be identifying your mind as the operant power in your life. And as long as you do that, and as long as you're lost in the character you're playing, manifestation will be a tool to solve problems rather than, the idea that your desires are your birthright, that freedom is your birthright. I view manifestation in two ways. The first way is that pretty much what I just mentioned is that manifestation is essentially a permission slip to live your life. Now, living your life doesn't necessarily mean flying and traveling all over the world. That's definitely part of it if that's something you're into. But living your life can also look like just being present in the moment. For example, earlier I was making breakfast, and that's something that's done daily. But I wasn't worried about the future or the past. I was allowed to be fully immersed in that experience of making breakfast with no conditions beyond what I was doing. And had I handed my power over to my mind, I would be lost in the future or the past, or rather than focusing on the breakfast I was making, I would be trying to manage my thoughts or my emotions. But knowing that consciousness is the operant power, that imagination is the only reality, I was allowed to live my life in that moment, present in the moment, with no concern over the future or the past. So if you feel you're trying to manage your thoughts or emotions, take a step back, remind yourself that consciousness, that imagination is the only reality, and that you're only one imaginal act away from experiencing the reality you desire to experience. Now, if you want to dive deeper, check out Mystic Manifestation on School, subscribe for more. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.